You feel it before you see it, a pressure behind your eyes, a weight settling on your chest like the universe itself is holding its breath. The sky above New York fractures, not with explosions or alien ships, but with something worse. Golden light bleeds through reality like a wound opening in the fabric of existence itself. The air tastes of ozone and ancient incense. Every psychic on Earth screams at once. Dr. Strange collapses in the sanctum sanctorum, clutching his head as visions of a golden giant burn through his mind. Charles Xavier's telepathy shatters against something so vast, so incomprehensibly powerful, that his consciousness nearly breaks from the contact alone. This isn't Thanos. This isn't Galactus. This is something that makes gods look like children playing at power. The Emperor descends slowly, not with the rush of combat, but with the patience of inevitability. His boots touch the helipad, and the reinforced concrete cracks under a weight that isn't purely physical. It's the pressure of absolute authority, of 10 millennia of unquestioned rule condensed into a single point. The Avengers maintain their formation, but every instinct screams at them to scatter, to flee, to survive. Captain America's shield feels like a toy in his hands. Black Widow's fingers itch toward weapons she knows won't scratch that armor. Hulk is fully present now, green muscles tensed, but even rage hesitates before this golden figure. The Emperor regards them with eyes that have commanded Space Marine legions, negotiated with alien empires, and ordered exterminators on worlds that refused compliance. When he speaks this time, his voice emerges from his physical form, deep and resonant, like continents grinding together. You are brave, foolish but brave. These are qualities I have always valued in humanity. Tony Stark's mind races through the psychic download they all receive. He understands now what they're facing, not just a powerful being, but an ideology forged in the furnace of galactic survival. The Emperor doesn't conquer for glory or resources alone. He conquers because he believes it's the only way humanity survives in a universe that wants to devour it. Chaos, the Tyranids, the Orcs, the Necrons, threats so existential they make Thanos look merciful by comparison. In the Emperor's timeline, diplomacy failed, peace failed. Only iron unity under his rule kept humanity from extinction across 1,000,000 worlds. Tony clears his throat, buying time for his tactical processors to model scenarios. You call yourself unity, but from what I'm seeing in your memories, you built an empire on conquest and control. How exactly is that different from every other tyrant we fought? The question hangs in the air, heavy with challenge and genuine curiosity. The Emperor's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in the psychic pressure, amusement perhaps, or recognition of a worthy question. Because I succeeded where your tyrants failed, I did not seek power for myself. I sought survival for the species. Your world stands alone, ignorant of the horrors waiting beyond your small corner of space. You defeated one titan with purple skin who collected stones like a child hoarding toys. You think this makes you prepared? He gestures, and suddenly the air fills with holographic images pulled directly from the warp. Nightmares made manifest. Chaos Space Marines tearing through populations, demons feeding on screaming souls, Tyranid hive fleets consuming entire star systems, Orc wars, crushing civilizations through sheer brutal momentum. Each image carries psychic weight, forcing the Avengers to feel the horror, not just see it. These are the enemies I have fought for 10,000 years. This is why compliance is not tyranny, it is necessity. Doctor Strange materializes beside them, his astral form still flickering with instability from the psychic shockwave. The Sorcerer Supreme has walked through dimensions, bargained with cosmic entities, and witnessed infinite timelines through the Time Stone. Yet standing before the Emperor, he feels like a student before an ancient master. Strange sees the truth now. The Emperor is a psyker on a level that makes Earth's magical community look like candle flames before a supernova. I've looked forward through 14 million possible futures, Strange says carefully, his voice still strained. In how many of them does this conversation end peacefully? The Emperor turns those terrible golden eyes on him, and Strange feels his magical defenses strain under casual scrutiny. That depends entirely on your definition of peace, Sorcerer. In my experience, True peace requires strength. H. Your world lacks strength. I can provide it. The question is whether you will accept the cost. Captain America steps between them, shield still raised, embodying every ounce of the defiance that has defined him since a scrawny kid from Brooklyn refused to back down from bullies. We've heard that speech before. Every dictator promises security in exchange for freedom. The answer is always the same: no deal. His voice carries across the helipad with the moral certainty that has inspired armies and toppled tyrannies. But the Emperor doesn't react with anger or violence. Instead, he does something worse. He respects it. I remember when I believed as you do, Captain. When I thought humanity could prosper through ideals and hope alone. Then I watched those ideals burn in nuclear fire during Old Night. I watched hope devoured by demons that feast on human emotion itself. I learned that survival demands pragmatism, not philosophy. The Emperor's armor shifts, revealing scars beneath, ancient wounds from wars the Avengers can barely comprehend. You fight for freedom. I fight for existence. We are not as different as you imagine. Thor finally speaks, his divine voice cutting through the tension like lightning through storm clouds. I am Thor Odinson, son of Odin, protector of Midgard and the 9 realms. I have lived for 1500 years and witnessed the rise and fall of empires across the cosmos. Yet I have never encountered anything like you. There's no challenge in his words, only acknowledgement. The Thunder God has seen enough to recognize when bravado is suicide. You claim to protect humanity through domination, but what happens when your protection becomes the very thing they need protection from? Who guards against the Guardian? The question carries weight because it comes from someone who has grappled with the responsibility of godhood, who understands the corrupting influence of eternal power. The Emperor meets Thor's gaze, and for a moment something almost human flickers across that perfect face, pain perhaps, or ancient regret. You ask the right question, Thunder God. The answer is written on that throne of gold you saw in my memories. I guard against myself by dying slowly, eternally, sacrificing everything to hold back chaos, while my Imperium continues without me. I am not a tyrant who hoards power. I am a weapon that points itself at humanity's enemies until there is nothing left to point. The Emperor's voice drops to something almost quiet, almost vulnerable. I came to this universe not to conquer it, but because I sensed something here, a nexus point, a moment where choices matter. Your world stands at a crossroads, and the paths ahead lead either to enlightenment or extinction. I have walked this road before. I can show you which path ensures survival. His words carry the weight of terrible sincerity. This is not a conqueror making empty promises. This is something far more dangerous, a true believer offering salvation through subjugation. The Avengers exchange glances, silent communication flowing through years of partnership and trust. They all feel it, the horrible, seductive logic of the Emperor's position. In a universe filled with chaos gods and planet-eating swarms, maybe freedom is a luxury humanity can't afford. Maybe survival requires the iron fist of unity. The temptation whispers through their minds like poison, and they recognize it for what it is, not psychic manipulation, but genuine philosophical warfare. Because the Emperor's greatest weapon isn't his godlike power, it's that he might actually be right. Tony Stark breaks the silence with a bitter laugh. So what you're saying is, join you or die trying to stop you. Those are pretty limited options. The Emperor's response is immediate and absolute. No, join me, resist me, or do nothing. All 3 paths are open. But understand this, your choice today will echo across millennia. Choose wisely. The dimensional rift behind him pulses with waiting ships, and Earth's heroes realize the nightmare has only just begun. You watch from street level as Hulk makes the decision before anyone can stop him. The Green Giant's roar shakes windows across Manhattan, a primal rejection of submission that bypasses all tactical consideration and philosophy. Hulk doesn't debate ideology or calculate odds, he simply refuses to bow. The leap comes fast, impossibly fast, gamma-powered muscles launching 250 pounds of rage straight at the golden figure hovering above the tower. For a heartbeat, you feel hope. Maybe raw power is the answer. Maybe brute force can succeed where words failed. Then the Emperor moves, not defensively, not with concern. He simply raises one gauntleted hand, palm forward, and Hulk stops mid-air as if he's hit an invisible wall. No impact, no struggle, just absolute cessation of momentum, as if physics itself has decided gravity no longer applies to the green giant. The Hulk hangs there, suspended 20 feet from the Emperor, muscles straining against invisible bonds that don't even seem to register the effort. The Emperor's psychic grip is surgical, precise, overwhelming. Where Thanos needed the Power Stone to contain Hulk, the Emperor uses pure will backed by millennia of psychic mastery. You see Hulk's eyes widen, not with fear exactly, but with the dawning realization that his infinite anger has met something that literally cannot be moved by rage alone. The Emperor speaks directly into Hulk's mind, bypassing Banner entirely, addressing the Gamma Beast with the same tone one might use with a rabid dog. Your strength is impressive by this planet's standards. In my Imperium, you would be designated a Class Delta Psyker-adjacent phenomenon, potentially useful if properly controlled. But uncontrolled, you are merely loud. The psychic pressure increases, and Hulk begins to shrink, gamma radiation bleeding away as Bruce Banner's consciousness surges back through sheer psychic suppression. The transformation reverses against Hulk's will, something that should be impossible, and suddenly Bruce Banner hangs in the air, unconscious and vulnerable in torn purple pants. The Emperor lowers him gently to the helipad, almost tenderly, before turning back to the others. The message is clear and devastating. He neutralized Earth's strongest physical threat without moving from his position or showing any strain. Tony's HUD displays Hulk's vital signs, stable but unconscious, brain activity showing signs of forced psychic intervention. That was a warning, the Emperor states flatly. I did not harm him because I understand frustration and defiance. These are human qualities, but understand this. I have fought beings that make your Hulk look like an angry child. I have personally slain demon princes, killed greenskin warlords the size of buildings, and banished entities that exist outside your conventional reality. If you force me to demonstrate my full capacity, this city will not survive too. He display. The threat isn't boastful or emotional, it's delivered with the casual certainty of someone stating basic physics. The sky could be blue, water could be wet. The Emperor could erase Manhattan without breaking stride. Thor doesn't leap forward with Mjolnir. He's smarter than that now, having witnessed what just happened to Hulk. Instead, the god of thunder summons lightning from clear skies, channeling the Odin force through his hammer with precision that would make his father proud. Electricity arcs between buildings, coalescing into a spear of pure elemental fury that could vaporize mountains. Thor hurls it not directly at the Emperor, but at the dimensional rift behind him, tactical thinking, trying to cut off reinforcements and buy Earth time. The lightning spear crosses the distance at near light speed, a weapon forged by divine will and Asgardian craftsmanship. It strikes the rift and simply stops. Frozen in space like a photograph of destruction, the energy dissipating harmlessly into golden sparks that fall like snow. The Emperor hasn't moved, hasn't gestured, he's simply denied the attack through pure psychic force, warping probability and physics until Thor's best shot becomes meaningless. Asgardian storm magic, the Emperor observes with academic interest. Crude but potent. In another age I might have found use for warriors like you, Thunder God. The Thousand Suns Legion would have appreciated studying your species' natural affinity for warp-touched phenomena. He speaks about Thor's divine power like a scientist discussing an interesting bacteria sample. Acknowledgement without reverence, curiosity without fear. Thor feels something he hasn't experienced since facing Hela, complete inadequacy. He's fought frost giants and fire demons, battled across the 9 realms for centuries, stood against Thanos with Stormbreaker, and never felt this outmatched. The Emperor isn't just stronger, he operates on a different level of existence entirely, where Thor's lightning is quaint and his divine heritage is merely notable. I will give you one more chance to attack, the Emperor says calmly. Because I want you to understand. I want you to carry this memory forward. When your next assault fails, you will know it is not because you lacked courage or power, but because the gulf between us is simply too vast to bridge through force alone. Iron Man fires everything. Repulsor beams, unibeams, micro-missiles, arc reactor overload. The full arsenal of Stark technology pours toward the Emperor in a light show that turns night into day. Tony's not trying to kill him, just test limits, gather data, find weaknesses. The assault would level a city block, overwhelm most cosmic threats, force even Thanos to defend himself seriously. The Emperor lets it all hit him. Every beam, every explosion, every ounce of destructive force washes over his armor like rain against a mountain. When the smoke clears, he stands completely unmarked, his golden armor not even scorched. "Impressive weapons for your technological level," he comments, examining one gauntlet as if checking for dust. Fusion-based energy projection, self-replicating armor systems, sophisticated AI support. In my Imperium's dark age of technology, these would be considered standard civilian protection. You are 10,000 years behind the STC templates we've lost, 20,000 behind what we once achieved. The words cut deeper than any weapon. Earth's greatest genius has built toys compared to humanity's true potential. Captain America stands firm, shield raised, every line of his body screaming defiance, even as his tactical mind screams that they've already lost. He's the last line, the moral center, the man who doesn't yield, even when yielding is logical. "We're not your Imperium," Steve says, voice steady despite the hopelessness of their situation. "We don't sacrifice freedom for survival. We find a third option. We always have." The Emperor regards him with something that might be sadness, might be respect, might be the weariness of arguing the same point across 10 millennia. "Captain America, the man out of time, I have read your psychic imprint. You were born in an era of depression and rose during a war that threatened global genocide. You understand sacrifice. You understand that sometimes good men must do terrible things to save those who cannot save themselves." He descends until he stands at eye level with Steve, two soldiers separated by 10,000 years, but united by the weight of command. "I am not your enemy, Captain. I am your future, warning your present. The choice is yours, but the consequences are inevitable." The standoff breaks when reality tears open behind the Emperor, not the controlled rift he arrived through, but a jagged wound in space that vomits forth wrongness. Chaos entities, shapeless things of warp stuff and madness, pour through the gap drawn by the Emperor's psychic presence like sharks to blood in the water. They're small by demon standards, barely formed, but even these lesser horrors make the Avengers recoil instinctively. Tentacles of impossible geometry, eyes that burn with colors that shouldn't exist, mouths that whisper, promises of pleasure and pain and madness. One touches the helipad and the concrete screams, twisting into organic shapes that pulse with alien life. The Emperor doesn't turn around, he simply thinks, and the demons dissolve like sugar in acid, banished back to the warp with such casual authority it's almost boring to him. "You see," he says quietly, "this is what waits for psychically active species. This is what your mutants, your sorcerers, your heroes with mental powers attract without realizing. And this was nothing, a whisper of true chaos. Imagine what happens when the ruinous powers notice you fully." The Emperor lets that terrible vision sink in, then speaks the words that will change everything. "Now, shall we discuss terms of protection, or would you prefer to face the darkness alone?" The psychic shockwave from the Emperor's arrival ripples outward through dimensions, and the cosmos takes notice. In the dark dimension, Dormammu pauses mid-conquest of a timeline, his flaming consciousness detecting something that shouldn't exist in this reality, a psychic signature powerful enough to rival his own multiversal presence. The Dread One reaches toward Earth with tentacles of dark magic, probing, testing, and then recoils violently when those psychic tendrils touch something that burns with the light of dying suns. For the first time in eons, Dormammu feels caution. In the quantum realm, where eternity and other cosmic abstracts observe the multiverse with detached curiosity, alarms that have never sounded begin to pulse. A foreign element has entered their reality, carrying the psychic weight of an entirely different universal law. Eternity manifests partially, its star-filled form coalescing enough to examine this anomaly. What it sees troubles even an entity beyond conventional concern. The Emperor exists as a quantum impossibility, a being from a universe which psychic power operates under fundamentally different rules, and his presence is already beginning to warp local reality to match his origin point's physics. Doctor Strange teleports into the Sanctum Sanctorum's meditation chamber, his hands still trembling from psychic backlash. Wong is already there, surrounded by ancient texts floating in mystic circles, every protective ward in the building straining against the pressure of the Emperor's presence miles away. I've consulted the Book of Vishanti, the Darkhold fragments, even the forbidden scrolls of Watumb, Wong says without looking up, his voice tight with controlled panic. There's nothing, no prophecy, no warning, no mention of anything like him in any timeline we can access. Strange collapses into his meditation throne, the eye of Agamotto burning hot against his chest as the time stone resonates with temporal distortions. I looked forward, Strange admits quietly, past the 14 million futures I showed the others. I looked as far as the time stone would allow. Wong finally meets his eyes, and Strange's expression carries the weight of terrible knowledge. In every future where we fight him, Earth loses. In most, we don't just lose, we cease to exist. The few timelines where Earth survives are the ones where we submit to his rule. Across the city, in the Xavier Institute, Professor Charles Xavier lies unconscious in the medical bay, his mind still reeling from contact with the Emperor's psychic presence. Jean Grey sits beside him, one hand on his temple, using her own telepathy to stabilize his shattered mental defenses. She's the most powerful telepath on Earth, host to the Phoenix Force itself, and even she struggles to comprehend what she witnessed in that brief, psychic touch. He's not just telepathic, Jean whispers to Cyclops, who stands guard at the door. He's something else entirely. His mind exists across multiple dimensions simultaneously, sustained by constant sacrifice from thousands, no millions, of lesser psychics feeding him power. And beneath all that, there's pain, 10,000 years of unending agony, all focused into purpose and will. She pulls her hand back, tears streaming down her face. Scott, I touched the Phoenix Force and survived. I've channeled cosmic power that could rewrite reality. But him, he scares me in ways the Phoenix never did, because he's not a force of nature. He's a man who chose to become a monster to save his species, and he's utterly convinced he's right. In Wakanda, King T'Challa sits in the throne room surrounded by his council and the Dora Milaje, watching holographic projections of the Emperor's arrival captured by every satellite pointed at New York. Shuri's analysis scrolls across multiple screens, energy readings, quantum distortions, psychic emanations that break their senses' ability to measure. Brother, Shuri says, her usual playfulness gone, replaced by scientific fear. I've analyzed the armor he wears. The molecular structure doesn't match anything in our databases. It's not vibranium, not Uru, not any known material. The energy signature suggests it was forged using psychic energy as much as physical force. And those ships in the riff, Teehid behind him. She expands one image, enhancing it until they can see details of Gothic architecture melded with weapons the size of city blocks. Each one masses more than our entire nation. The firepower readings suggest they could sterilize Earth's surface in minutes. T'Challa's claws extend unconsciously, vibranium gleaming under the throne room lights. Prepare the defenses. If he comes here, Wakanda will not bow. But alert our people. If this becomes war, we fight not for victory, but for the right to choose our own destiny. The cosmic entities begin to converge on Earth's solar system like immune cells responding to infection. The living tribunal manifests partially, its three faces judging, analyzing, determining if this incursion requires its direct intervention. The Watcher appears on the moon, oath of non-interference temporarily forgotten in light of dimensional contamination this severe. In the negative zone, Annihilus senses new opportunity and new threat in equal measure. The Shi'ar Empire's sensors detect the psychic disturbance and immediately go to high alert. Their experience with the Phoenix Force taught them that psychic entities of this magnitude mean extinction-level danger. Across the cosmos, every telepathic species simultaneously experiences nightmares of a golden giant burning through their mental defenses like tissue paper. The Emperor's presence isn't subtle. It's a declaration that the universe's power hierarchy has been challenged, and every major player must now decide: ally, oppose, or hide. None of these options guarantee survival. Back at the Sanctum, Strange makes a decision that violates every teaching of the Ancient One. He opens a portal directly to the dimension of the Vishanti, stepping through into spaces where human consciousness shouldn't exist. The trinity of cosmic entities, Agamotto, Oshtur, and Hoggoth, manifest before him, their forms too vast and complex for mortal comprehension, yet Strange forces himself to perceive them clearly. The Emperor of Mankind threatens our reality. Strange announces without preamble, "I need power, I need knowledge, I need every weapon you can grant to stop him, or at least survive what's coming." The Vishanti confer in ways that transcend language, their consciousness touching the fabric of multiple dimensions simultaneously. When Agamotto finally speaks, the voice carries the weight of timeless wisdom and profound regret. "Sorcerer Supreme, what you face is not a threat we can simply arm you against. The Emperor exists as a psychic singularity, a being who has ascended beyond conventional mortality through will and sacrifice alone. He is what happens when a species produces a perfect weapon against cosmic horror, then lets that weapon rule for 10 millennia. To match his power, you would need to become like him, and that transformation would cost you everything that makes you Stephen Strange." The Ancient One appears beside Strange, her form translucent as she manifests from the astral plane where she's existed since her death. Her presence is both comfort and warning. She wouldn't reveal herself unless the situation was truly dire. "I have watched this being since he arrived," she says softly, her voice carrying across dimensions. "I have seen what he is and what he represents. Stephen, he is not evil in any conventional sense. He is pragmatism taken to its logical extreme, necessity given form and purpose. In his universe, every terrible thing he's done was required for humanity's survival. Every atrocity had mathematical justification. Every sacrifice had measurable returns." She turns to face him fully, and Strange sees something in her eyes he's never witnessed before, uncertainty bordering on despair. The question isn't whether we can stop him, it's whether we should. Because if his warnings are true, if chaos truly exists and can reach our universe now that he's opened these dimensional pathways, then Earth may need exactly what he's offering: protection purchased with freedom, survival bought with submission, and that choice, my student, is beyond my wisdom to guide. Strange returns to the Sanctum's physical plane just as alarms blare throughout the building. Wong rushes in, mystical energy crackling around his hands in defensive postures. "He's moving," Wong reports tersely. "The Emperor has left the Avengers and is flying toward the United Nations building. Every news channel is covering it. Every government on Earth is watching." Strange throws open a scrying window, and together they watch the Emperor descend toward the UN Plaza, where diplomats and soldiers scramble in panic and preparation. The golden figure doesn't attack or threaten. He simply lands in the plaza like a man arriving for a scheduled appointment, and his voice booms out, not through speakers or amplification, but through direct psychic projection that every human on Earth can hear inside their minds simultaneously. "People of Earth, I am the Emperor of Mankind, and I have come to offer you a choice. In my reality, I united humanity across the stars through strength and necessity. Here you remain divided, vulnerable, ignorant of the true horrors lurking beyond your atmosphere. I offer protection, technology, ascension to your rightful place among the stars. All I ask in return is unity under my rule. You have 72 hours to decide. Choose wisely, for this offer will not be repeated." The psychic transmission ends, and Earth collectively holds its breath, realizing the impossible choice has now been placed before every human simultaneously, and the clock is already ticking. The first 24 hours after the Emperor's ultimatum tear Earth apart faster than any alien invasion ever could. You sit in your living room watching news coverage from every continent, and the divisions become clear immediately. Social media explodes with hashtags, some demanding resistance, others begging for acceptance, most simply expressing terror at having heard a voice inside their minds that bypassed every defense humanity thought it possessed. Religious leaders worldwide scramble to interpret what this means, some declaring the Emperor a messiah, others naming him the Antichrist, most simply admitting they have no framework for understanding a being who exists beyond their theological models. Stock markets crash as investors panic, then surge as others bet on the technological advancement the Emperor promises. Governments convene emergency sessions, protesters fill streets, families argue across dinner tables about whether survival is worth the cost of freedom. Earth hasn't been this divided since the snap, but this time there's no clear villain to unite against, only an impossible choice wrapped in golden armor. The Avengers compound becomes ground zero for Earth's fractured response. Heroes from across the globe converge. The Fantastic Four arrive via dimensional portal. The X-Men send representatives despite their complex relationship with humanity. The Guardians of the Galaxy return from space having heard cosmic chatter about Earth's new visitor. The conference room fills with legends and arguments that threaten to become something worse. Reed Richards presents data suggesting the Emperor's technological claims are legitimate based on sensor readings of his armor and ships. If even a fraction of what he's shown us is real, Reed argues carefully, we're talking about curing disease, ending resource scarcity, expanding beyond Earth before climate change. It becomes irreversible. The scientific advancement alone could justify consideration. Tony Stark slams his fist on the table, his armor scorched from the earlier encounter. You're talking about selling humanity's autonomy for shiny new toys, Richards. I've seen tyrants before. They all promise utopia right before the jackboot comes down. Sue Storm intervenes before the argument escalates, her force fields unconsciously manifesting between the two geniuses. We're missing the bigger picture. The Emperor isn't just offering technology, he's warning us about threats we don't understand. Those things that came through the rift, the chaos entities. I've explored the negative zone, fought Annihilus, traveled to the edge of known space. I've never encountered anything like what we saw, and it terrified me on an existential level. Her voice drops, vulnerability showing through her usual confidence. What if he's telling the truth? What if there really are horrors out there that make Galactus look merciful, and we're stumbling around blind and defenseless? Doesn't that change the calculation? Captain America stands, his presence commanding attention without effort. It doesn't matter if the threats are real. It doesn't matter if his technology could save lives. The moment we accept a ruler we didn't choose, the moment we trade freedom for protection, we stop being human in any way that matters. I've seen this play out. Germany in the 30s, Hydra in the present. It always starts with promises of safety and ends with mass graves. The X-Men's perspective splits the room further. Storm speaks with the authority of someone who has led mutants through extinction events and governmental persecution. We understand the cost of security better than most. Humanity has offered us protection before, in the form of sentinel registration, mutant containment facilities, genetic correction programs. Every time, protection was code for control, and control was code for elimination. Her eyes crackle with suppressed lightning. But we also understand what it means to face threats humans aren't equipped to handle. If the Emperor is truly warning us about psychic predators that feed on telepaths and reality benders, then every mutant on Earth becomes a beacon for these chaos entities. We can't ignore that. Cyclops adds grimly, Professor Xavier touched the Emperor's mind and still hasn't fully recovered. Jean says his psychic architecture is built on the sacrifice of thousands of psychers who feed him power daily. That's not protection, that's vampirism dressed in golden rhetoric. We vote no. The division is stark, absolute, and growing worse with every passing hour. Peter Parker sits quietly in the corner, younger than most heroes present, but carrying the wisdom of someone who has lost everything to choices made by powerful men. When he finally speaks, his voice cuts through the argument like a knife. I'm just a kid from Queens who got bit by a radioactive spider. I'm not a genius like Tony or a king like T'Challa, but I know what it's like when powerful people make decisions for you, claiming it's for your own good. Uncle Ben used to say that with great power comes great responsibility. The Emperor has more power than anyone we've ever faced. But who holds him responsible? Who checks that power when it inevitably gets abused? His words hang in the air, simple but devastating in their moral clarity. Mr. Stark taught me that we fight so people can make their own choices, even if those choices are messy and imperfect. The Emperor is offering to take away humanity's right to be messy. That's not salvation, that's the end of who we are. The room falls silent because Spider-Man has articulated what many feel but couldn't express. This isn't about tactics or survival, it's about the soul of humanity itself. Meanwhile, in the Baxter Building's observatory, Silver Surfer stands alone, his cosmic awareness extending through space to examine the dimensional rift the Emperor arrived through. Norrin Radd has served Galactus, witnessed the birth and death of galaxies, traveled to the edge of the universe and back. His experience with cosmic threats exceeds even the most powerful Earth heroes. What he sees through that rift terrifies him in ways even the threat of planetary consumption never did. He sees glimpses of the warp, a dimension where physical laws don't apply, where emotion becomes tangible force, where demons born from collective psychic trauma hunt anything with consciousness. He sees wars spanning thousands of years between the Emperor's forces and entities that treat reality as a suggestion. He sees planets burned to ash not out of malice, but out of surgical necessity when chaos corruption spreads too far to contain. And he understands, with the clarity of cosmic perspective, that the Emperor isn't exaggerating or manipulating. He's offering Earth the same deal he gave a million worlds: submit or face the darkness alone. The Silver Surfer returns to the conference room just as arguments threaten to become violence, and his voice carries the weight of universal truth. I have witnessed horrors across countless worlds. The Emperor's warnings are not hyperbole. What exists beyond that rift is real, it is hungry, and Earth is utterly unprepared to face it. The revelation from Silver Surfer shifts something in the room, but not toward consensus, toward deeper fracture. Some heroes see it as validation that submission might be necessary. Others see it as proof that Earth needs to prepare on its own terms, not surrender before the fight even begins. Dr. Strange teleports in, looking haggard from consultations with cosmic entities, and his report makes things worse. The Living Tribunal has declared non-interference. This is considered a localized dimensional contamination, not a universal threat requiring its intervention. The Vishanti offer sympathy but no direct aid. They claim the Emperor exists outside their jurisdiction as a psychic entity from a different universal framework. We are effectively alone in this decision. He pauses, then delivers the truly devastating news. And I've confirmed through temporal scrying, if we reject his offer and fight, millions die in the first engagement. If we accept, humanity survives but transforms into something unrecognizable within 3 generations. There is no timeline where everyone wins. Every path leads to loss. As the 72-hour deadline shrinks to 48, Earth's governments begin splintering. Russia announces consideration of accepting the Emperor's terms independently if the UN cannot reach consensus. China condemns this as national betrayal, but internally debates the same choice. The United States convenes Congress in emergency session, with riots outside the Capitol building. Small nations without military might to resist begin secretly sending ambassadors to the UN Plaza, where the Emperor waits, asking for private negotiations. The European Union fractures along philosophical lines, some nations prioritizing security, others dying on the hill of democratic sovereignty. Africa watches warily, remembering too many times when foreign powers promised protection and delivered colonization. Every hour brings new defections, new alliances, new betrayals. The Emperor doesn't intervene or manipulate. He simply waits in the UN Plaza like a patient parent watching children learn a hard lesson, and his silence is more effective than any propaganda campaign could ever be. Earth is tearing itself apart, trying to answer a question that has no good answer, and the golden figure at the center of the storm hasn't needed to fire a single shot. The fractures in human unity are weapon enough, and the clock keeps ticking toward a choice that will echo across history, regardless of what Earth decides. 24 hours before the deadline, reality fractures across multiple fronts simultaneously. The cosmic entities that have been watching decide they cannot remain passive observers any longer. You feel it in your bones before the news reports start flooding in. Something fundamental about the universe has shifted, and powerful forces are making their moves. In the emptiness between Earth and Mars, the living tribunal manifests fully for the first time in recorded human history, its three faces judging the situation from perspectives mortal minds cannot comprehend. The face of equity speaks first, its voice resonating across dimensions. The Emperor's presence creates an imbalance that threatens multiversal stability. A being from a universe with different fundamental laws cannot be allowed to reshape this reality according to his origins physics. The face of necessity counters immediately. Yet his warnings carry truth. Chaos entities have already breached this dimension through rifts created by his psychic presence. Removing him may leave Earth more vulnerable than his conquest would. The face of vengeance remains silent, but its judgment is clear in the weight of its gaze. Violence is coming regardless of what the tribunal decides. Galactus arrives next, the devourer of worlds manifesting in Earth's solar system with his herald Silver Surfer reluctantly at his side. The world ship eclipses the sun briefly, casting Earth into shadow that triggers global panic until light returns moments later. Galactus does not come to consume Earth, he comes because the Emperor's presence disturbs the cosmic balance he maintains through his eternal hunger. The Devourer's voice booms across space, audible to every enhanced being on Earth through sheer cosmic authority. Emperor of mankind, you are an anomaly in this universe's equation. Your psychic signature disrupts the natural order of entropy and renewal that I maintain. Withdraw to your origin dimension, or I will classify you as a threat requiring consumption. The ultimatum hangs in space like a death sentence, because everyone who knows Galactus understands he doesn't make empty threats. The Emperor, still standing in the UN Plaza, tilts his head skyward. His response is calm, almost bored. Devourer, I have fought Satan star gods that consume suns and wear reality as clothing. I have banished demon princes that dwarf your cosmic stature. If you wish to test yourself against me, know that I will not show mercy to threats against my mission. The challenge is issued, and the solar system holds its breath. The Watchers appear by the dozens, breaking their sacred oath of non-interference to observe what they recognize as a nexus point in universal history. Uatu manifests on the moon, his massive form visible to Earth's telescopes, and his presence alone signifies how significant this moment has become. The Watchers do not act, they never do, but their attention focuses cosmic significance on Earth like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight. Every major power in the cosmos now knows that whatever happens here will reshape the local galactic cluster for millennia. The Shi'ar Empire mobilizes its Imperial Guard, not to attack Earth, but to contain whatever fallout occurs. The Kree Supreme Intelligence calculates probabilities and quietly withdraws all assets from Earth's sector, deeming the risk too high for potential gain. The Skrull Empire sees opportunity in chaos and begins positioning infiltrators, believing the confusion might allow them to finally succeed where previous invasions failed. Across the cosmos, species that have never heard of Earth suddenly become aware of it as the flashpoint where two universal frameworks collide. On Earth, the superhuman community reaches breaking point. Iron Man suits up, calling every ally he's ever made, assembling a coalition of those willing to fight rather than submit. The armor is upgraded with every piece of technology Tony can incorporate in 48 hours. Wakandan vibranium weaving, Asgardian enchantments courtesy of Thor, mystical wards from Doctor Strange, quantum processors designed by Reed Richards. It's humanity's best technology fused into a last-ditch weapon, and Tony knows it probably won't be enough. Captain America stands beside him, shield gleaming, leading not just the Avengers, but a coalition that includes the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Defenders, and dozens of other heroes who refuse to kneel even in the face of impossible odds. Steve delivers a speech that will be remembered regardless of what follows. The Emperor thinks he knows humanity because he's ruled it in his universe for 10,000 years. But he doesn't know us. We're the species that looked at gods and said no. We're the people who fought Thanos with half the universe already gone. We don't surrender to tyrants no matter how powerful they are, because the moment we do, we stop being worth saving. The speech goes viral instantly, hardening resistance across the globe. But not everyone joins the resistance. A significant portion of humanity, terrified by the Emperor's warnings and seduced by his promises, begins organizing acceptance movements. They flood the UN Plaza, surrounding the Emperor with thousands of people who kneel voluntarily, begging him to save them from the horrors he's described. Religious cults form overnight, declaring the Emperor their savior. Governments that have suffered under alien invasions and superhuman battles decide submission is preferable to another New York-level devastation. The division isn't between good and evil, it's between two equally valid survival philosophies clashing in real time. Some see the Emperor as humanity's only chance against cosmic threats. Others see him as the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. Both sides believe they're fighting for humanity's soul, and that makes compromise impossible. The Emperor watches all of this with unreadable golden eyes, his psychic presence recording every argument, every prayer, every act of defiance and submission. He's earning this universe's humanity, comparing it to his own, and his conclusions remain hidden behind psychic shields that even Jean Grey cannot penetrate. Doctor Strange makes one final desperate play, opening portals to every mystical dimension simultaneously and calling in every debt, every favor, every alliance the Sorcerer Supreme has cultivated over years of protecting Earth. The Vishanti reconsider their neutrality when Strange threatens to sever his connection to their power entirely rather than serve entities who abandon Earth in its darkest hour. Dormammu emerges partially into reality, his hatred for the Emperor overriding his usual opposition to Earth's defenders. The enemy of my enemy becomes a temporary, unreliable ally. The crimson bands of Cyttorak manifest without Juggernaut as a vessel, pure magical force responding to global crisis. Ancient spirits that predate human civilization rise from Earth's mystical nexus points, recognizing that the Emperor's conquest would reshape the magical landscape they've inhabited for millennia. Strange stands at the center of a ritual that burns years off his life with every second, channeling more mystical power than any Sorcerer Supreme has wielded since the Ancient One's prime. The spell he's preparing isn't designed to kill the Emperor. Strange knows that's impossible, but to banish him back to his origin universe and seal the dimensional rift permanently. It's a prayer wrapped in mathematics, hope disguised as magical theory, and it requires perfect execution, or it will tear Strange's consciousness apart. The final 12 hours before the deadline become a nightmare of preparation and positioning. The Emperor remains in the UN Plaza, unmoved and apparently unbothered by the forces gathering against him. His fleet waits in the dimensional rift, weapons powered down but ready to activate instantly. The chaos entities he banished earlier begin testing the barriers again, drawn by the psychic energy building across Earth as billions of humans focus their emotions on this single crisis point. Small breaches appear in remote locations. A demon manifests in the Australian outback and is destroyed by local heroes. Another appears in Siberia and simply freezes before it can attack anyone. These are warnings, reminders that the Emperor's threats aren't theoretical. Meanwhile, the Avengers establish defensive perimeters around major cities, evacuating civilians and preparing for combat that could devastate the planet. Wakanda raises its shields, Atlantis seals its borders, the Inhumans on the moon prepare Attilan's defenses. Every superhuman community on Earth either fortifies for resistance or prepares for submission, and the division cuts through families, teams, and nations with surgical precision. As the final hour approaches, the Emperor finally moves. He rises from the UN Plaza, ascending until he hovers above the atmosphere where everyone can see him, a golden star against the black of space, visible from every continent simultaneously. His psychic voice reaches every conscious mind on Earth one last time, and this transmission carries different weight than his initial announcement. This isn't a conqueror issuing ultimatums, this is a teacher delivering a final lesson to students who refuse to learn. I see you have chosen resistance. I respect this choice even as I lament its necessity. You are brave, passionate, devoted to ideals I once held sacred. But bravery without wisdom is suicide. You face forces you cannot comprehend with weapons that cannot harm them, so I will show you. I will demonstrate what awaits you in the darkness beyond your comfort. Table solar system, and when you understand the true scale of the horrors I fight, perhaps then you will recognize that my rule is not tyranny, it is mercy. The transmission ends, and the dimensional rift behind him explodes outward, tearing open wider as something massive begins pushing through from the other side. Earth's heroes prepare for invasion, but what emerges is worse than any fleet or army. The Emperor is keeping his promise, and Earth is about to witness true cosmic horror for the first time. You watch from your window as reality tears itself apart above the atmosphere. The dimensional rift expands until it spans thousands of miles, a wound in space that bleeds impossible colors, hues that hurt to perceive, shades that shouldn't exist in a universe governed by conventional physics. Through that tear, something emerges that makes your mind recoil in self-defense. It's not a ship or creature in any recognizable sense. It's a demon prince, a greater demon of chaos undivided, and even looking at it through a screen forces your consciousness to rebel against what your eyes are reporting. The entity exists in more dimensions than human perception can process, its form shifting between states that violate causality and logic. One moment it appears as a mass of tentacles and eyes, the next as a beautiful angel whose perfection is somehow more horrifying than any monster, then as a geometric impossibility that makes mathematicians weep in confused terror. This is what the Emperor has been fighting for 10,000 years, and Earth is seeing it for the first time. The Demon Prince's arrival triggers immediate catastrophic effects across Earth's mystical and psychic communities. Every telepath on the planet screams simultaneously as the creature's psychic presence washes over them like acid on exposed nerves. Charles Xavier, still recovering from his earlier encounter with the Emperor, convulses in the medical bay as his mind touches something that feeds on consciousness itself. Jean Grey's Phoenix Force surges defensively, golden flames manifesting around her as cosmic power recognizes existential threat. But even the Phoenix hesitates because this entity isn't from this universe. It operates under different rules, feeds on different energies, exists in spaces the Phoenix cannot easily reach. Doctor Strange's carefully prepared banishment ritual destabilizes instantly as the demon's presence corrupts the mystical equations he spent hours perfecting. Spells designed to work within this universe's magical framework simply fail when confronted with warp-based entities that treat reality as a suggestion rather than law. Strange tastes blood as the magical backlash tears through his defenses, and he realizes with horror that Earth's mystical arsenal is designed for threats that still obey some fundamental laws. This thing obeys nothing. The Demon Prince speaks, and its voice emerges not as sound, but as direct emotional transmission that bypasses language entirely. Every human on Earth experiences their deepest fear, greatest desire, most shameful secret, and most desperate hope simultaneously compressed into a single psychic pulse. Billions of minds touch madness in that instant. Suicides spike globally as weaker-willed individuals simply break under the psychic assault. Stronger minds endure but are forever changed, carrying the echo of that contact like spiritual scar tissue. The creature's laughter is the sound of civilizations falling, of hope dying, of order collapsing into beautiful chaos. It extends one appendage, impossible to describe, shifting between solid and ethereal, toward Earth, and reality bends under its touch. The atmosphere itself screams, molecules rearranging into patterns that spell out blasphemous truths in languages that predate human language. This is a fraction of the demon's power, a casual gesture, and it's already doing more damage than Thanos managed with the Infinity Gauntlet. The Emperor wasn't exaggerating. If anything, he undersold the threat. Earth's heroes respond with everything they have, and it's immediately clear how outmatched they are. Thor summons the full power of the Odin force channeled through Stormbreaker, hurling lightning that could crack moons at the Demon Prince. The attack connects, passes through the entity like light through fog, and simply dissipates into the warp without causing any apparent damage. Iron Man fires his upgraded arsenal, repulsor beams enhanced with vibranium resonance, missiles tipped with PIM particles, energy weapons running on arc reactor overload. Every shot hits. Nothing happens. The Demon Prince doesn't defend or dodge, it simply exists in states where physical damage has no meaning. Captain America's shield, thrown with all of Steve's enhanced strength and tactical precision, passes through the creature and continues into orbit, completely ignored. The Hulk, pushed beyond rage into primal terror-fueled fury, leaps from Earth's surface toward the entity. Halfway through his ascent, the Demon Prince glances at him, and Hulk stops mid-air, suspended not by telekinesis, but by having his concept of forward motion temporarily erased from local reality. He floats there, frozen, while the creature studies him with curiosity, like a child examining an interesting insect. The Fantastic Four attempt a scientific approach because that's what they do when facing the impossible. Reed Richards calculates the demon's dimensional frequency, hoping to phase it out of sync with this reality using stolen negative zone technology. Sue Storm wraps the entity in force fields designed to contain reality warpers. Johnny Storm goes supernova, achieving temperatures that should vaporize anything composed of matter. Ben Grimm simply punches it with all the strength his rocky form possesses, because sometimes direct approaches work when clever ones fail. Nothing works. The Demon Prince isn't matter or energy in any conventional sense. It's a psychic construct given shape by the collective emotions of quadrillions of sentient beings across multiple galaxies, sustained by the warp itself, and wearing physical form like a person might wear clothing. You cannot punch an idea. You cannot burn a nightmare. You cannot contain something that exists primarily in the spaces between thoughts. The Fantastic Four's assault fails completely, and the Demon Prince's amusement radiates across the battlefield like toxic waste, corroding hope wherever it touches. Doctor Strange makes one desperate gambit, calling upon powers he swore never to use except in the most dire circumstances. He opens himself fully to the dark dimension, channeling Dormammu's power through his own body, despite knowing it will corrupt him. He speaks words of unmaking that should banish any entity from this dimension, regardless of its origin. The spell activates, reality warping magic crashing into the Demon Prince with force that cracks the moon's surface from reflected pressure alone. For a moment, just a moment, the Demon Prince actually staggers, its form destabilizes, portions of it being pulled back toward the rift. Hope surges through Earth's defenders. Maybe magic can work where physical attacks failed. Maybe Strange has found the answer. Then the Demon Prince laughs, properly laughs, and the sound is pure concentrated madness given audio form. It reaches towards Strange across thousands of miles of space, and suddenly the Sorcerer Supreme is screaming as chaos corruption floods through the dark dimension connection he opened. Strange sees the truth now. Dormammu's dimension connects to the warp at fundamental levels he never understood, and by channeling that power, he's opened himself to corruption. Wong severs the connection from the Sanctum Sanctorum, saving Strange's soul, but leaving him broken and gasping on the astral plane. The Emperor watches all of this with the patience of someone who has witnessed this exact scenario play out across 1,000 worlds. He hasn't moved, hasn't intervened. He's simply letting Earth's heroes exhaust themselves against a threat they cannot comprehend, teaching the lesson he promised to deliver. When it becomes clear that every conventional approach has failed, when Earth's defenders float battered and broken in space above a planet that's seconds away from demon-induced psychic apocalypse, only then does the Emperor act. He doesn't attack with physical weapons or mystical spells. He simply exerts his will, and his psychic presence expands outward like a detonating star. The Demon Prince, which shrugged off everything Earth threw at it, suddenly recoils. The Emperor's consciousness crashes into the chaos entity like a tsunami of ordered thought crushing chaotic emotion. And for the first time, Earth's observers see what 10,000 years of psychic evolution and countless sacrifices have created. The Emperor doesn't just banish the demon, he unmakes portions of it, burning away segments of its essential being with pure psychic fire that exists at temperatures measured in certainties rather than Kelvin. The Demon Prince shrieks, the sound ripping across dimensions as something ancient and terrible experiences genuine pain. The battle between Emperor and Demon takes place across multiple planes simultaneously: the physical realm, the astral plane, the quantum foam, the spaces between thoughts where chaos dwells. Earth's heroes watch, helpless and humbled, as two beings operating at scales they cannot fully comprehend wage war, using weapons that redefine possible. The Emperor's psychic assault is surgical, targeted, absolute, every strike designed not just to harm, but to permanently reduce the demon's existence. This isn't fighting, it's mathematical annihilation, and the Demon Prince recognizes it has encountered something it cannot simply corrupt or overwhelm. After minutes that feel like hours, the greater demon retreats back through the dimensional rift, pieces of its essence burning away like paper in nuclear fire. The Emperor follows it to the threshold, ensuring it returns fully to the warp, then turns to face Earth. His golden armor is unmarked, his breathing is steady. He hasn't even broken stride. And in that moment, every hero, every leader, every human watching understands the terrible truth. The Emperor just saved Earth from something they couldn't stop, and he did it effortlessly. The demonstration is complete, and the lesson is devastating. Without him, humanity cannot survive what lurks in the darkness. The question now is whether Earth can live with that truth, and what price they're willing to pay for protection they desperately need, but deeply fear. The silence after the demon's banishment is absolute and suffocating. You sit, in front of your television, watching heroes float broken in space above Earth, and something fundamental shifts in your understanding of the universe. For years, you believed the Avengers could handle anything. Thanos came, and they eventually won. Ultron threatened extinction, and they prevailed. Alien invasions were defeated, reality warpers were contained. But this was different. This was watching your protectors fight with everything they possessed and accomplish nothing, while a stranger from another universe solved the problem without visible effort. The realization spreads across Earth like a virus. Humans are not the dominant species they imagined themselves to be. They're children playing in a cosmic playground, and they just met something from the deep end of the pool where actual predators swim. The Emperor descends slowly back toward the atmosphere, and this time when he speaks, his psychic voice carries no triumph or superiority, only tired patience and ancient sadness. Do you understand now? This is why I offer protection. Not because I desire control, but because you cannot protect yourselves. The Avengers compound becomes a triage center for broken heroes and shattered egos. Tony Stark sits in his workshop with his helmet off, staring at combat data that confirms his worst fears. Every weapon he deployed was completely ineffective, not just underpowered or incorrectly calibrated, but fundamentally incapable of harming entities that operate outside conventional physics. His genius means nothing against threats from dimensions where genius and stupidity are equally meaningless concepts. He's built armor that can contend with gods, but demons aren't gods. They're nightmares given form, and you can't engineer solutions to things that exist because collective consciousness believes them into being. Steve Rogers sits beside him, shield across his lap, and for the first time in his century of life, looks genuinely defeated. Not physically, the serum keeps him strong and healthy, but spiritually, in the place where his unwavering moral certainty usually lives. I told people to resist, Steve says quietly. I gave them hope that we could fight this, and then I couldn't even touch it. Tony doesn't respond, because there's nothing to say that wouldn't sound like hollow comfort. Thor returns to Earth's surface, Stormbreaker in hand, and immediately seeks out the Emperor, who now waits again in the UN Plaza. The Thunder God's divine pride has been shattered, replaced by something more valuable, wisdom born from humiliation. I am 1,500 years old, Thor says, his voice lacking its usual bombast. I have fought across the 9 realms and beyond. I have faced frost giants, fire demons, dark elves, and titans who collected infinity stones like toys. But what you just destroyed, I could not even harm it. My lightning, blessed by the Odin force itself, meant nothing. He kneels, not in submission but in acknowledgement of a gulf he cannot bridge through strength alone. I understand now why you rule your humanity with an iron fist. When the threats are this vast, this incomprehensible, perhaps freedom is a luxury that invites extinction. The Emperor regards him with those ancient golden eyes, and something almost like respect flickers across his perfect features. Rise, Thunder God. I do not want subjects who kneel from fear. I want allies who understand necessity. You have taken the first step toward true wisdom. Doctor Strange recovers slowly in the Sanctum Sanctorum, his connection to the dark dimension permanently damaged from the chaos corruption he touched. Wong sits beside him, applying mystical healing that can only do so much for wounds inflicted on the soul rather than the body. Strange's hands shake worse than they ever did after his accident, but this time the tremors are psychic rather than physical. His consciousness keeps trying to process what he witnessed and failing. I've walked through dimensions, bargained with cosmic entities, held the time stone, and witnessed infinite futures, Strange whispers hoarsely. But that demon prince, it existed in states I couldn't comprehend, even with the eye of Agamotto, and the Emperor banished it like a man swatting a fly. He turns to Wong with eyes that have seen too much. How do we resist something that can do that? How do we maintain Earth's independence when we just proved we can't defend it from the threats he's warning us about? Wong has no answer, because the Sorcerer Supreme has just articulated the question that's burning through every strategic mind on Earth. Is pride worth extinction? The X-Men gather at the Xavier Institute, their earlier conviction shaken to the core. Jean Grey sits with her head in her hands, the Phoenix Force coiled inside her like a frightened animal. Even cosmic power recognized the Demon Prince as something dangerous, something that could potentially corrupt or consume even the Phoenix if given opportunity. Professor Xavier was right to fear the Emperor's psychic architecture, Jean tells the team assembled around her. He's built on sacrifice and pragmatic horror, but after what we just saw, maybe that's what it takes to fight chaos. Maybe nice, ethical psychic powers aren't enough when you're facing entities born from the collective nightmares of entire galaxies. Cyclops shakes his head stubbornly, clinging to principles even as reality undermines them. We can't compromise our values just because we faced one threat we couldn't handle. That's how tyranny starts, with people trading freedom for security during a crisis. Storm's voice cuts through the argument with the authority of someone who has led through impossible situations. Scott, we couldn't even touch it, not couldn't defeat, couldn't affect it at all. That's not one threat. That's evidence of an entire category of threats we're unprepared for. We need to at least consider that the Emperor's offer isn't tyranny, it might be survival. Global governments convene emergency sessions as the deadline approaches its final hours. The demonstration has shifted public opinion dramatically. Polls show 70% of humanity now favors accepting the Emperor's protection, a complete reversal from the 50-50 split before the Demon Prince appeared. World leaders who days ago loudly proclaimed they would never submit, now quietly send ambassadors to negotiate terms. The United States President addresses the nation with visible exhaustion, her speechwriters having gone through 20 drafts trying to find words that acknowledge reality without sounding like surrender. We have seen what exists beyond our world, she says carefully. We have witnessed threats our current defenses cannot counter. The Emperor's offer of protection is no longer theoretical, it's a practical question of survival. We will negotiate, not from weakness, but from the recognition that wisdom sometimes requires accepting help, even from sources we don't fully trust. It's the most diplomatically worded admission of helplessness ever broadcast, and every leader worldwide delivers similar messages in their own languages. Resistance hasn't collapsed entirely, but it's crumbling under the weight of witnessed inadequacy. Peter Parker swings through Manhattan, his spider sense tingling constantly from the residual dimensional instability the Demon Prince left behind. He stops on a rooftop where he used to eat lunch between patrols, looking at a city that feels different now, smaller, more vulnerable, less the center of the universe, and more a fragile bubble waiting to pop. A teenager approaches him, one of dozens who gather wherever Spider-Man appears. "Are we going to be okay?" the kid asks, voice shaking. "Is that golden guy going to protect us?" Peter wants to give the answer he always gives, that heroes will always save the day, that good always triumphs, that hope is never foolish. But the words stick in his throat because he's not sure anymore. He saw the Emperor casually accomplish what all of Earth's heroes combined couldn't touch. He saw a demon prince that treated their strongest attacks like annoyances. The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man doesn't have an answer for cosmic-scale threats. "I don't know," Peter admits honestly, and the words hurt to say. "But I know we'll figure it out. We always do." It sounds hollow even to his own ears, and the teenager walks away looking more scared than reassured. The final hour before the deadline becomes a countdown, not to war, but to capitulation. The Emperor hasn't moved from the UN Plaza, hasn't issued new threats or demonstrated additional power. He simply waits with the patience of someone who has already won and is giving his opponent time to realize it. His fleet remains in the dimensional rift, weapons still powered down, because he doesn't need them. The Demon Prince demonstration accomplished what 1,000 battleships couldn't. It broke Earth's will to resist by proving that resistance is suicide. When the deadline finally arrives, when 72 hours of tension and fear and philosophical warfare culminate in the moment of final decision, the UN Secretary-General approaches the Emperor with documents signed by representatives of every major nation on Earth. Not unanimous, some countries refuse to the bitter end, but enough for a global consensus. The terms are simple. Earth accepts the Emperor's protection and guidance in exchange for maintaining relative autonomy in daily governance, with the understanding that decisions affecting humanity's cosmic security fall under his authority. It's not surrender, the politicians insist, it's partnership. The Emperor reads the documents with psychic speed, then looks at the assembled leaders with eyes that have seen this scene play out countless times across countless worlds. "Acceptable," he says simply. "Your nightmare begins tomorrow, but at least now you will survive to see it." And with those words, Earth enters a new age, protected, guided, and forever changed by the golden figure who proved they needed saving from horrors they never knew existed. The first changes come within hours of Earth's acceptance, and they're more subtle than anyone expected. The Emperor doesn't impose martial law or demand worship or dismantle governments. Instead, he begins with infrastructure, deploying technology from his fleet that makes Earth's most advanced science look primitive by comparison. Devices appear in major cities overnight, towering spires of golden metal inscribed with high Gothic runes that hum with psychic energy. Tony Stark examines one in New York with Reed Richards beside him, both geniuses struggling to comprehend technology that operates on principles 10,000 years beyond their current understanding. "These are Geller field generators," the Emperor explains via psychic transmission, his voice reaching every scientist simultaneously. "They create barriers between real space and the warp, preventing chaos entities from manifesting easily on Earth. Your planet is now protected from the kind of incursion you witnessed, though maintaining these fields requires psychic energy I will provide until you develop your own psychers properly." The technology works. Sensors confirm dimensional stability increasing across the globe, but it comes with an uncomfortable truth. Earth is now dependent on the Emperor's power for protection from threats they can't defend against alone. You notice the changes in your daily life almost immediately. Crime rates plummet not through police action but through something more insidious. The Emperor's psychic presence creates a background pressure that makes violent impulses harder to act on. It's not mind control, not exactly, but its influence on a global scale that subtly pushes humanity toward order and away from chaos. Murders drop by 90% in the first week, rapes become almost non-existent, random violence simply stops. At first, people celebrate these changes, grateful for streets that feel safe for the first time in generations. But then the philosophers and ethicists raise uncomfortable questions. If the Emperor can suppress violent impulses, what else is he suppressing? Are your thoughts entirely your own, or are they being gently guided toward compliance? You stare at the ceiling at night and wonder if your acceptance of this new order is genuine, or if golden psychic pressure is making submission feel natural. The Emperor, when questioned about this, responds with characteristic bluntness. I am not controlling your minds. I am creating an environment where humanity's better nature has advantage over its worst impulses. You remain free to think, to choose, to resist. But yes, the presence of order makes chaos harder. This is not tyranny. This is civilization. The superhero community fractures further as the new reality sets in. Captain America refuses to cooperate with the Emperor's initiatives, forming an underground resistance of heroes who believe freedom must be preserved, even at the cost of security. Iron Man surprises everyone by accepting a position as Earth's liaison to the Emperor's administration, arguing that someone needs to ensure humanity's interests are represented in decisions being made. The split between these two founding Avengers becomes symbolic of Earth's broader division. Steve represents the principle of liberty at any cost, while Tony represents pragmatic survival through compromise. Their friendship doesn't end, but it strains under philosophical differences neither can bridge. You're collaborating with a tyrant, Steve accuses during one heated confrontation. Tony's response is tired but firm. I'm making sure that when he rebuilds our defenses and uplifts our technology, humans maintain some control over the process. You can stand on principle from your resistance cell, Steve. I'll be in the room where biggest thoughts, decisions are made, trying to minimize the damage. Both men believe they're doing what's necessary. Both are probably right. Both are definitely compromised. The Emperor's educational programs begin within the first month, and they're nothing like the indoctrination camps Earth's leaders feared. Instead, he offers voluntary classes in psychic defense, teaching telepaths like Jean Grey and Charles Xavier techniques that took his Imperium thousands of years to develop. The lessons are brutal in their honesty, showing exactly how chaos corruption spreads, demonstrating the signs of warp taint, explaining why certain thoughts and emotions can literally attract demons from beyond reality. Professor Xavier emerges from the first session looking decades older, his mind reeling from knowledge he wishes he could unlearn. He's not wrong, Xavier admits to his X-Men, voice hollow. Every powerful psychic on Earth is a potential gateway for chaos entities. Every time we've used our abilities without understanding the warp's existence, we've been risking dimensional breaches. The demon prince that attacked, we've been unconsciously inviting things like that for years without realizing it. The training continues, and Earth's psychics become more powerful, but also more paranoid, hyper-aware of threats they can't unsee. Knowledge, as always, comes with the cost of innocence lost. The Emperor's fleet begins construction of orbital defenses that dwarf anything shield or sword ever imagined. Battle stations the size of small moons materialize in high orbit, bristling with weapons that operate on principles combining technology and psychic power in ways that make conventional physics weep. The ships are beautiful and terrible, Gothic architecture melded with function, every surface inscribed with protective runes and litanies that serve both structural and mystical purposes. Astronauts aboard the ISS watch in awe and horror as reality-warping construction unfolds, vessels being built not entirely in real space but partially in dimensions humans can't perceive. Tony Stark gets limited access to study the construction process and returns to Earth pale and shaking. The materials science alone is revolutionary, he reports to the Avengers. They're using psychic energy as a construction material, weaving belief and will into physical structure. But the weapons, they're designed to kill things that don't die conventionally. Reality anchors, warp torpedoes, consciousness disruption beams. We're building an arsenal for fighting nightmares, and I'm not sure humans should have access to this kind of power. The Emperor's response when questioned is simple. You will need these weapons. The galaxy has noticed Earth now, and not all who come will be as patient as I have been. The resistance movements that remain active find themselves in an impossible position. They want to fight back against what they see as occupation, but the Emperor hasn't given them clear targets or obvious tyranny to oppose. Life for most humans has objectively improved, technology advances daily, disease begins to fade as imperial medical knowledge spreads, food and resource scarcity disappear as matter replication tech becomes available. The emperor's rule is simultaneously oppressive and benevolent, controlling and liberating, exactly as he promised in his initial offer. Captain America's resistance sabotages a Geller field generator in protest, and the immediate result is a minor warp breach that kills 17 people before the Emperor seals it personally. Steve stands in the aftermath, looking at bodies of people who died because he prioritized principle over safety, and something breaks inside him. Not his conviction, but his certainty. The Emperor arrives at the scene, examines the damage, and speaks directly to Steve with uncharacteristic gentleness. "I understand your resistance, Captain. I admire it even, but understand this. Every action against the infrastructure I build costs lives. Not my life, not your life. The lives of innocents who need protection you cannot provide. Resist if you must, but own the consequences." Steve has no response, because the Emperor is right and they both know it. Dr. Strange becomes an unexpected ally to the Emperor's agenda after fully recovering from his chaos corruption. The experience of touching that demon prince's essence changed him fundamentally, burning away his arrogance and replacing it with hard-earned wisdom. He works with the Emperor to establish mystical defenses that complement the technological Geller fields, creating a hybrid system that protects Earth on multiple planes of existence simultaneously. "I don't trust him," Strange admits to Wong during one of their working sessions with Imperial mystics. "But I trust the Chaos Gods even less, and he's the only being who's shown he can fight them successfully. We're making a deal with one devil to avoid 4 worse ones." Wong nods, because sometimes the Ancient One's teachings about choosing the lesser evil become horrifyingly literal. They construct wards that will endure for centuries, binding protections into Earth's mystical foundation that will outlast both the Emperor and themselves. It's the most important work Strange has ever done, and it feels like betrayal with every spell he casts. 6 months pass under the Emperor's protection, and Earth transforms in ways both wonderful and terrible. Technology leaps forward by centuries. Diseases that plagued humanity for 6 months pass under the Emperor's protection, and Earth transforms in ways both wonderful and terrible. Technology leaps forward by centuries. Diseases that plagued humanity for millennia disappear overnight. Poverty begins to fade as resource limitations dissolve under post-scarcity technology. But freedom also erodes in subtle ways. Dissent is never punished, but somehow always fails. Resistance movements lose support not through oppression, but through attrition, as life simply gets too comfortable to risk. The Emperor keeps his word about maintaining human autonomy in daily governance, but his presence remains always in the background, a golden shadow that ensures humanity never strays too far from the path he's laid out. You live in a world that's objectively better than before he arrived, safer, healthier, more prosperous. But you can't shake the feeling that something essential has been traded away. Perhaps that's the real horror of the Emperor's conquest. It's not done through force or fear, but through making submission so logical, so necessary, so beneficial that resistance starts to feel like selfishness. And as you watch the golden spires gleam under sunlight, protecting Earth from nightmares you can barely comprehend, you wonder if this was always how it would end, not with humanity destroyed by tyrants, but saved by one, and whether those two outcomes are really as different as you'd like to believe. The age of heroes has ended, the age of unity has begun, and Earth will never be the same. 1 year after the Emperor's arrival, he summons Earth's remaining heroes to the orbital defense platform he's constructed above the planet. You watch the broadcast with billions of other humans, curious and anxious about what this gathering means. The platform itself is magnificent and terrifying, a Gothic cathedral floating in space, large enough to house a city, covered in golden eagles and skulls and inscriptions in languages that predate human civilization. Inside, the Emperor stands before an assembly that includes the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Sorcerer Supreme, and representatives from every superhuman community on Earth. His golden armor gleams under artificial light that feels somehow more real than natural sunlight, and his expression carries weight that silences the room before he even speaks. "I have kept my word," The Emperor begins, his voice carrying not through speakers, but through direct psychic transmission that makes every word feel personally directed at each listener. Earth is protected. Your technology advances. Your people prosper. But the time has come to reveal what I have truly been preparing you for, and why my protection was never meant to be permanent. The revelation hits like a physical blow. The Emperor gestures, and the platform's walls become transparent, revealing space beyond in impossible detail. But it's not empty space, it's filled with threats. Dozens of cosmic entities circle Earth's solar system like predators waiting for an opening. Kree battlecruisers, Skrull infiltration ships, a celestial observing from Jupiter's orbit, Annihilus probing from the negative zone, dark elves from Svartalfheim, Badoon slavers, Shi'ar scouts, and worse things, entities from dimensions Earth doesn't have names for, attracted by the dimensional rifts the Emperor's arrival created. They are waiting, the Emperor explains calmly, waiting for me to leave, waiting for the protection I provide to vanish so they can claim Earth for themselves. Some want your resources, some want your genetics, some simply want to exterminate you before you become a threat. This is the reality I shielded you from while preparing your defenses. The galaxy has noticed Earth, and you can never go back to comfortable isolation. The key is whether you will survive what comes next without me. Tony Stark steps forward, his expression hardening as understanding dawns. You're leaving. This was always temporary. You came here not to conquer us permanently, but to force us to evolve fast enough to survive on our own. The Emperor inclines his head in acknowledgement, and something almost like pride flickers across his features. Exactly. In my universe, I ruled because humanity had no choice. I was their only defense against annihilation. But here, you have potential I never possessed. Heroes who resist tyranny even when it's logical. Scientists who innovate without direction. Mystics who touch cosmic power without corruption. You don't need a permanent emperor. You need preparation, technology, knowledge, and most importantly, the understanding that your survival is not guaranteed. I came to give you all of this, and now my work here is complete. The revelation ripples through the assembled heroes with mixed reactions, relief that the Emperor never intended permanent occupation, horror at realizing they'll soon face cosmic threats alone, and dawning comprehension that everything he did was calculated to force Earth to grow up fast. Captain America's voice cuts through the confusion, carrying the moral authority that has defined him for a century. So this was all a test. You traumatized our planet, demonstrated our inadequacy, forced us into submission, just to teach us a lesson. There's anger in Steve's words, but also grudging respect, because he recognizes strategy when he sees it. The Emperor turns those ancient golden eyes on him, and when he speaks, his voice carries 10,000 years of weary experience. Not a test, Captain, an inoculation. You faced one demon prince and nearly broke. What happens when the Chaos Gods notice you fully? What happens when the Tyranids arrive in this galaxy, or the Necrons awaken, or any of 1,000 existential threats that make Thanos look merciful? I showed you the darkness so you would build lights. I forced your submission so you would learn to resist properly. Every technology I gave you, every defense I built, every lesson I taught, all of it was designed to ensure that when I leave, you can stand on your own. I did not save you. I taught you how to save yourselves. Dr. Strange steps forward, his expression troubled but thoughtful. The Geller fields, the psychic training, the orbital defenses, they all require your power to maintain. If you leave, won't everything collapse? The Emperor's response is immediate and devastating. The systems I built will function for approximately 5 years, using the psychic batteries I've charged with my own essence. After that, Earth must maintain them independently using the psychers I've helped you identify and train. You have 5 years to master technologies and abilities that took my Imperium thousands to develop. It will be difficult. Many will fail. Some may die in the learning, but I have seen your species' potential. You do not need 10,000 years. You need necessity, and I am giving you that gift. The assembled heroes exchange glances, understanding now the true scope of what the Emperor has done. Not conquered them, but thrown them into deep water and taught them to swim before the sharks arrive. It's brutal, pragmatic, and possibly the only thing that could have worked. The Emperor continues, his voice carrying weight that makes reality itself seem to listen. I will show you one more thing before I depart. Something I showed my own people 30,000 years ago when I first revealed myself to unite Terra. He reaches toward the transparent walls, and suddenly the assembled heroes see not space, but time, visions of possible futures spreading out before them like branches on a cosmic tree. In one timeline, Earth rejects everything the Emperor taught and returns to comfortable ignorance. Within a century, chaos corruption spreads unchecked, and Earth becomes a demon world where humanity serves dark gods in eternal torment. In another, Earth embraces the Emperor's teachings but takes them too far, becoming a pale imitation of the Imperium, safe but soulless, surviving but no longer truly human. In a third timeline, Earth finds balance, using the Emperor's gifts while maintaining the heroic principles that define them, becoming a beacon of hope in a dark galaxy rather than another fascist empire. The choice, the Emperor says quietly, has always been yours. I merely ensured you would make it with full knowledge of the stakes. Freedom without wisdom leads to extinction. Wisdom without freedom leads to stagnation. You must find the path between, or you will fall to one extreme or the other. Peter Parker, youngest of the assembled heroes but carrying wisdom beyond his years, asks the question everyone is thinking. Why us? Why Earth? You could have chosen any world in any universe. Why come here specifically to do this? The Emperor's expression softens, and for the first time, Earth's heroes see something human beneath the godlike exterior. Pain, regret, hope wrapped in ancient sorrow. Because I failed my humanity. In my universe, I became what was necessary to ensure survival, but in doing so, I created an empire that worships me as a god while I slowly die on a golden throne, sustained by daily sacrifice of innocent psychers. I have ruled for so long that humanity no longer remembers how to stand without me. When I finally die, and I will die eventually, my Imperium may fall because I taught them to obey rather than to think. He pauses, and his next words carry the weight of 10 millennia of regret. I came to your universe because I saw a version of humanity that still produces heroes, that still resists tyranny even when it's necessary. I came to give you what I wish I had given my own people, the tools to survive without needing a tyrant to guide you. Consider this my penance, and my hope that at least one version of humanity can thrive without sacrificing freedom on the altar of survival. The Emperor begins to fade, his form becoming translucent as he prepares to return to his own universe. His final words echo through every human mind on Earth simultaneously, a farewell and a warning and a benediction all at once. You have 5 years before my defenses require independent maintenance, 5 years to master psychic disciplines, technological principles, and strategic thinking that took millennia to develop in my timeline. Some of you will fail, some will fall to chaos corruption, some will misuse the power I've given you. This is inevitable. Humanity's nature includes failure and corruption alongside genius and heroism, but I have seen your potential, and I believe you can succeed where my people could not. Build something better than my Imperium, create a society that protects itself without needing tyrants, prove that freedom and survival are not mutually exclusive. He locks eyes with each hero one final time. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, all the others who stood against him and then learned from him. The nightmare I promised has begun, but so has your ascendancy. On, survive it, and humanity will take its place among the stars as something more than either conquerors or victims. Fail, and the galaxy will forget you ever existed. The choice, as always, is yours. The Emperor vanishes, the dimensional rift sealing behind him with finality that feels like a door closing on one era and opening to another. Earth's heroes stand in the orbital platform he built, surrounded by technology they barely understand, and defenses they must learn to maintain, facing a future where cosmic predators circle and chaos lurks at the edges of reality. You watch from your living room as the broadcast ends, and the question the Emperor posed hangs over humanity like a sword. Can a species survive cosmic horror without becoming monsters themselves? Can freedom and security coexist, or must one always be sacrificed for the other? The Emperor forced Earth to confront these questions not through philosophy, but through brutal necessity, and now humanity must find its own answers. The Age of Heroes isn't over. It's evolved into something more terrifying and more meaningful. Earth stands alone now, armed with terrible knowledge and powerful weapons, facing a universe that wants to devour it. And somewhere in another universe, a dying god-emperor sits on a golden throne and hopes that at least one version of humanity can succeed where he failed. The ultimate question remains unanswered, echoing through your mind as the credits roll on this chapter of Earth's history. Was the Emperor humanity's savior, its destroyer, or something far more complex? A monster who taught heroes how to fight monsters without becoming them? Drop your answer in the comments below, because this debate is just beginning, and Earth's survival may depend on finding the right answer before time runs out. The Avengers assemble within minutes, but they're already too late to prepare. Iron Man's sensors go haywire, detecting energy readings that shouldn't exist according to what? Any known physics. Thor grips Mjolnir tighter than he ever has, because for the first time in millennia, the God of Thunder feels genuine fear. Captain America's tactical mind races through scenarios, but every calculation ends the same way, with uncertainty and dread. The Hulk is already surfacing in Bruce Banner's mind, but even gamma-fueled rage feels small against what's coming. Black Widow checks her weapons knowing they're useless, but muscle memory is all she has left when the impossible becomes real. Hawkeye knocks an arrow with trembling hands. They stand together on the Avengers Tower helipad, watching the sky tear itself apart, and for the first time, Earth's mightiest heroes wonder if might will be enough. If you want to witness the most terrifying crossover in fictional history, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what happens next will challenge everything you thought you knew about power in the Marvel Universe. Drop a comment below with your theory on who could possibly survive this encounter. Now, let's continue into the nightmare. He emerges from the golden wound in space like a titan stepping through a curtain. The Emperor of mankind, 15 feet of genetically perfected humanity, wrapped in Baroque golden armor that seems to exist in more dimensions than human eyes can process. His face is simultaneously beautiful and terrible, ageless, perfect, utterly devoid of mercy or doubt. Behind him, reality doesn't just bend, it obeys. The psychic pressure intensifies until car alarms shriek across Manhattan, glass windows crack in spiderweb patterns, and every living thing within 100 miles feels the presence of something that has ruled 1,000,000 worlds for 10,000 years. He doesn't fly or teleport, he simply stands there, 50 feet above the city, as if gravity itself dares not touch him without permission. His eyes, ancient gold that has witnessed the birth and death of civilizations, scan the city below with the detached interest of a god examining an anthill. Thor is the first to move, because gods recognize gods, and what he sees terrifies him more than Ragnarok ever did. He launches himself skyward, Mjolnir trailing lightning, but stops mid-flight when those golden eyes turn toward him. The Emperor doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. A single glance transmits more information than 1,000 words, visions of crusades spanning galaxies, of worlds burning in righteous fire, of xeno-species exterminated by the trillion, of humanity's survival purchased with oceans of blood. Thor sees the Emperor not as he appears, but as he truly is. A psychic gestalt of human will given terrible form, the most powerful psyker who ever lived, a being who makes the Sorcerer Supreme look like a street magician. The Asgardian thunder god, who has faced frost giants and dark elves and universe-ending threats, slowly lowers his hammer, not in surrender, in recognition of something beyond his weight class. Iron Man's AI, Jarvis, cycles through analysis after analysis, each one failing to compute. Energy readings exceed solar output. Gravitational distortions suggest localized space-time warping. Psychic emanations measure off every conceivable scale. Tony Stark's genius mind does what it always does when faced with the impossible. It calculates angles, looks for weaknesses, designs countermeasures, but every simulation ends in failure. Every tactical approach crumbles under mathematical certainty. The armor's sensors detect something else too. The Emperor isn't alone. Behind him, visible only as distortions in reality, massive shapes lurk in the Dimensi. Onal wound, ships, battleships the size of cities, weapons that make nuclear arsenals look like firecrackers, an entire fleet held in reserve, waiting in the spaces between universes. Tony's mouth goes dry inside his helmet. This isn't an invasion, this is a test, and Earth is about to discover if it passes or becomes another cautionary tale. The Emperor finally speaks, and his voice doesn't emerge from his mouth. It manifests directly in the minds of every living human on Earth simultaneously. Not English or any earthly language, but pure concept transmitted through psychic force that transcends linguistic barriers. Every person hears it in their native tongue, their native context, their native fears. I am unity. I am conquest. I am humanity's will made manifest across 10,000 years of endless war. The words carry weight beyond meaning. They carry truth, history, absolute certainty forged in the fires of galactic genocide. Your world stands at the precipice. Chaos stirs at your borders. Xenos covet your resources. You are children playing with matches in a munitions factory, and I have come to offer you a choice. The psychic transmission ends, but the echo remains, reverberating through skulls and souls like the aftershock of a divine pronouncement. The Avengers stand frozen, not by fear alone, but by the terrible understanding now flooding their minds. They've seen his history, not through words but through psychic imprint. They've witnessed the Great Crusade, where the Emperor unified humanity across the stars through diplomacy and devastation in equal measure. They've felt the weight of the heresy that nearly destroyed him. They've experienced the Golden Throne where he sits eternally dying, a corpse god sustained by the sacrifice of 1,000 psychers daily, his consciousness holding back literal hell from consuming humanity. And now, somehow, impossibly, he stands before them whole and terrible, a version plucked from another timeline or another universe entirely. Captain America steps forward, shield raised not in attack but in defiance, and speaks the only words that matter in moments like this. We need to talk.